Welcome into 12 News. I'm Dylan Domingue. New details tonight in the sexual abuse investigation at an East Wichita church. Eastminster Presbyterian Church releasing a letter today detailing past sexual abuse allegations against its former director of student ministries, Bodie Weiss. That letter says there were 3 reports of when Weiss was alleged to have engaged in inappropriate sexual activities with members of his church, 2 of which were during his time working for Eastminster in the early 1990s, and the other was when Weiss worked at a church in Pennsylvania in 1980. The first 2 reports were dismissed, but the report in 2008 ended with a settlement and a signed non-disclosure agreement. Now, Weiss died in 2020, but since then, a recent report is finding more allegations. Reporter Roman Campa joining us from the newsroom. Roman, what more can you tell us?
Dylan, it wasn't until last year, July 2024, when another report of sexual abuse led the church to hire a third-party investigative team, finding almost 24 victims of sexual abuse by Bodie Weiss. I spoke with one of the victims who is outraged by the new letter from the church.
Why were they the ones that determined what a credible accusation was or not?
Tyson Stewart is one of the 23 youth group members that were deemed victims of sexual abuse by Bodie Weiss. It was Tyson's report in 2024 that led to the finding of almost 24 victims. But before Tyson, the church says they were made aware of 3 other sexual abuse reports, the first happening in the year 2000, involving Weiss and an Eastminster youth group student. But that allegation was deemed not credible. The second report was in 2005. 2 men alleged Weiss sexually abused them in 1980. The church says that allegation could not be substantiated.
I'm not aware of any qualifications that anybody would have at that church at the time to make such a determination.
The third report came in 2008 after Weiss had already resigned from his position with the church, when another Eastminster youth group student alleged he had been sexually abused by Weiss. The church says Eastminster agreed to a settlement and a non-disclosure agreement at the request of the family, but Tyson told 12 News he doesn't believe the family requested the NDA.
Well, I spoke with that victim this week. He said the church initiated the non-disclosure agreement against them. One of the lead investigators that performed this for the church is a parishioner of the church.
The letter goes on to say that there was not enough accountability.
You know, why law enforcement wasn't involved then? What is the culpability of not involving law enforcement? And I hope there are still legal consequences for all involved.
In a statement, the church says the current Eastminster session and staff are grieved by these shortcomings, by the abuse that took place during Weiss's time at Eastminster, and by the harm that was caused to the young people who should have been safe in our care and loved to their families and loved ones. The church goes on to say they are committed to taking steps that will minimize the risk of future recurrence. Dylan?
All right, thanks, Roman.